Most of the memories I carry from my early 20s are woven through with the heavy air of Berlin in winter. A mixture of diesel fumes, cold rain, and the slow, mechanical churn of the U-Bahn. But one day stands out, perfectly in focus, the way a knife's edge is clear against the skin. That day, I found myself sitting at the end of a low pine bench in the sunless audition hall at Hochschule für Musik, my heart pounding like a trapped animal. Glass windows ran high above the mute black piano, letting in a gray, rootless light. My palms were slick. I hadn't slept. I felt as though every stammered breath invited the whole jury, 3 bored professors in their 50s, shoes polished, eyebrows raised, to read the years I'd spent locked away from the world, immersed in headphones, slicing seconds of sound on a cheap computer. The assignment was simple. Choose a scene from the archival film footage, design the soundscape, and present a 2-minute mix. Subtlety and emotion, Professor Haas had said as he handed out the footage, making a light gesture as if shooing a fly. Don't overwhelm us with noise. Respect the silence between sounds. But there's nothing simple about laying a world at someone's feet and asking them only to listen to it. I set my laptop on the table, hands trembling, and asked them to close their eyes and listen. I pressed play. At first, my composition filled the wood-paneled room, the gentle scuff of a boot on cobblestones, the rattle of rain against a narrow window, a breathy, climbing melody coaxed from old pipes in the building's walls. My body ached with quiet pride. For once, the sound was right. But not 20 seconds in, something jarred. The mix stuttered, and a strange, sharp digital artifact skivered through the speakers. A mistake I'd missed, an echo I hadn't trimmed. My stomach dropped. I heard one of the professors cough, and another whispered. The sounds that followed those careful, painstaking hours of layering and trickery blurred into noise. My mind went white, my fingers numb. When it ended, there was a silence that went on too long, punctured only by someone's stiff shifting in a chair. Professor Haas looked at me as though he were surveying a broken umbrella. It's ambitious, he finally said, his voice thin. But honestly, Max, it lacks restraint. Too whimsical. There's sincerity, but no maturity. Professor Winter said little, and Professor Kant, himself rumored to have once worked with Fassbinder, simply shook his head. Sound is sculpture, not paint, he said, clipped, already pulling out a phone. Yours is too fantastical. You aren't shaping silence. You're cluttering it. What did you say this device was? He eyed my battered laptop. I wanted to disappear. Instead, I packed up my things, cords trailing, my USB stick still plugged in, and walked out into the corridor where the sound of students practicing piano and clarinet thudded against the walls. My roommate, Elena, was waiting outside with hopeful eyes. How'd it go? I couldn't speak. She reached for my arm, but I flinched away and bolted for the exit, out into Frankfurter Allee, and let the cold air fill my lungs until the pain in my chest gave way to numbness. When I made it home, my mother had already called. Your Tante Gerda said she didn't see you at the bakery today, she said. You're not skipping lessons again, are you? Your cousin Mark is already partnering in the print shop, Max. I'm not Mark, I said, staring at my reflection in the darkened window. Rain tracked down the glass in slow, nervous patterns. I just want you to be sensible, she said, her voice thinner from the other side of Brandenburg. You're so clever. Computers, music, there are real jobs for that, not this. What did you call it? Sound design? It's not even a word in German. That night, I scrolled through social media, watching classmates post snippets of their compositions. Gentle, old-world soundscapes, respectful and minimal. People left comments, elegant and so mature. I realized bitterly that my work was the odd one out. Worse, when I called home the following weekend, my father laughed. "Did you play us some of your new melody?" he joked, beer already slurring his words into one another, the way he did when the family gathered at Oma's for dinner. My brother Felix joined in with a snort. "Maybe you could fix the sound on Mark's old Toyota," he said. "It groans like an orchestra." Everyone laughed. Oma pursed her lips. "Don't tease the boy," she said, but even her voice had lost its edge. It became a kind of running joke among the family, my career. At birthdays, someone would hum a tune, waggle a phone, and say, "Ah, watch out, Max is going to remix that." Or, "When will we hear you on the radio, Dr. Sound?" By the end of that semester, Professor Haas suggested a leave of absence to reconsider my artistic direction. He never looked me in the eye. When I sat in my cramped share flat, listening to the rain hammer the window, a sense of weight grew inside me. Grief, I later realized, not over my failed recital, but for something else, for believing that if I did exactly what I felt, if I fashioned a small world out of sounds, full of longing and strangeness, then others would hear it too and know me. Instead, it felt as if I'd cracked open my chest for a roomful of distant strangers, and they'd shrugged. That grief layered itself into my skin, a heaviness I couldn't quite shake, as the weeks bled into spring. The city's color shifted. Trees budded along Karl Marx Allee, green fanning out in hopeful bursts along the pavement. But I felt stuck. Elena suggested a vacation, but I had no money and less energy. I stopped answering calls from home. I took to working at night, cutting audio for small podcasts, editing interviews, repairing hiss and hum for a little cash. Clients sent files in English and Turkish and Russian. Berlin seethed around me, a chorus of accents and footfalls and distant sirens. In the quiet moments, I became obsessed with the secret noises that lived between things, the reverberation after a bus passes, the touch of a bicycle on wet bricks, the rolling echo of footsteps on U-Bahn steps. I started recording them with an old field recorder, cataloging every intake of breath, every fizz of rain, on hard drives that stacked up under my desk. I had no plan, just a hungry compulsion to capture sound, to preserve something fleeting. Elena found me one night, hunched over headphones, deep in a 6-minute cut of city rain. "Max," she put her hand gently on my back. "You sleep at all anymore?" "Not really," I said, removing one cup to look at her. She studied me, concern a crease between her eyebrows. "I just can't stop thinking about how it all sounded in there," I confessed. "Like I'd ruined something beautiful. Maybe it's true what they said." "Fuck them," Elena said softly. And for a moment, I almost believed her. I picked up gigs wherever I could. Editing sound for short films, theater projects, even a shadowy interactive museum deep in Wedding that paid in beer and leftover pizza. I learned to hear patterns inside cacophony, learned when to cut and when to let a frequency bloom, how to wrap feeling around a moment with nothing but invisible noise. Clients rarely thanked me. Sometimes they didn't pay. 3 years passed, and with them, Berlin changed again. The bakery on my parents' street sold and reopened as a vape shop. Mark married and had a child. My father called once a month, usually drunk, always short. Sometimes, alone on an empty tram after a gig, I'd imagine going home, sitting in the middle of a family dinner, and calmly explaining what I did, demonstrating the way a well-timed reverb could turn emptiness into longing. Then I woke up on rented sheets in a stranger's flat. Still, just another anonymous guest in the city's church. It could have gone on like that forever. Small jobs, muffled hope, resignation ringing in my ears. But one night in midwinter, I opened my inbox to an unusual subject line. Call for audio Indra Films paid. At first, it looked